The Manufacturing Edge, where ops leaders break barriers, drive growth, and redefine what's possible.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to TBM's podcast channel, The Manufacturing Edge, a place where we explore what it takes to stay sharp, stay competitive, and stay ahead in today's manufacturing landscape. I'm your host, Will Merriman. Today, we're going to kick off a special three-part series that we're calling The 80's Called, and They Want Their Management System Back. We know it's a bold title, but it speaks to a real issue that a lot of manufacturers are facing, running their operations with outdated and disconnected systems that can't keep up with the demands of the fast-paced and data-driven world that they exist in today. Joining me for this conversation are two leaders who are reshaping the way that these organizations think about management systems and digital transformation. I'd like to welcome Bill Remy, CEO of TBM, and Paul Kohling, the Territory Director for the Americas and Head of Global Alliances at iObeya. iObeya is a company whose visual management platform helps digitize and scale proven lean practices, and we're very excited to partner with them going forward. Welcome to the podcast, Bill and Paul.
Thanks, Will. Great to be here.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it.
We're really looking forward to the conversation today, getting into this new partnership between TBM and iObeya. Really want to discuss why this collaboration matters and what happens when you combine a proven, battle-tested management system with a digital platform that's purpose-built to support it. The results that we're seeing are transformational, and I'm excited to explore why that is. So first and foremost, discussing the TBM and iObeya partnership, why it's relevant in today's manufacturing environment, starting with the obvious and what is behind the title, The 80's Called and They Want Their Management System Back. Why should that hit home with manufacturers right now?
Well, let me take a stab at it, and then Paul, feel free to jump in. You know, I think what we have learned about management systems in general is how you create a systemic approach to short interval daily management and aligning it with your both strategic initiatives, annual initiatives to meet your annual operating plan is key. And it's key to know, are we on plan or are we off plan? And if we're missing on certain KPIs or in certain aspects, what are we doing to get back on track, if you will, our countermeasures? And more importantly, culturally, I think it sets up a lot of accountability, right? So we are clear of what we're responsible for, who needs to be informed, who's consulted, but at the end of the day, who is responsible for a given KPI and the given results in their area to execute against. And that's big, right? That's very impactful to companies.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think it's funny, as I thought about this title, I felt like, an organization like TBM could get away with the title for a podcast like this. Not so much us. We created the first digital Obeya maybe 10 years ago, but, TBM's been working in the daily management system space and lean space for decades, and really has the street cred to pull that off.
Going back to the collaboration between TBM and iObeya, Bill, in developing the TBM digital management system, what is happening in the market that made this partnership make sense?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I think the speed at which digital and AI or smarter systems are moving into the manufacturing space has been happening for a little while now. It's been more focused on IoT and information automation and less about what leaders and people are doing in the factory to make sure that they're executing. And I think we recognize that we have a strong, robust approach to how you do short interval daily management and that alignment with initiatives, but that going to a digital format and finding the right partner was crucial. And I think we've done that. In fact, I think we've done that very well. And we're super excited to be collaborating and partnering with iObeya and the team.
Having just gone to your all hands and learning more about TBM, it's interesting. The synergies between the values and how we look at things are really there. I think that what you were saying, Bill, about the concentration on IoT and this kind of thing, this industry 4.0 push was really about technology and software and IoT and the human element was left out of it, and it really wasn't around the daily management system. We basically created our platform to keep the human element at the center of it, and I think that's why we gelled so well together so that we can take your daily management system, digitize it, and put it together and use that moving forward.
Definitely. Yeah.
Back to Paul's point with the industry 4.0, I think, what people are calling lean 5.0 does take into account more the human machine collaboration and involves a more human aspect of how do they work in that process and how do we create force multipliers in things that accelerate the capabilities, the problem solving, and the engagement with leaders and people as part of that digital movement within manufacturing, and less about excluding them, replacing them, or not them, putting the power in their hands. Because what things didn't take into account, in my opinion, is the deep domain expertise that exists within organizations and people and functions, that they've seen these things before, and so they can add to how you're using AI or digital management to make it even more powerful than the base platform or tool itself.
Yeah, it just on that again, it's proven time and time again when we uh, work with customers that they need somebody there guiding them on their management system, their lean rituals, making sure that we're supporting that process and not dictating it from a technology perspective. And so, they either have to have a very strong, very robust CI OPEX function within the organization, have an expert, trusted advisor like TBM, or both, and that's when they're successful. So that's really the core of this partnership, is supplying the expertise on the lean side, the technology on the iObeya side, and together it's sort of like a peanut butter and chocolate kind of situation.
And you spoke to this a little bit, both of you did. Are there any gaps that you commonly see that by combining improvement management system with the purpose-built digital platform can help ease and also optimize?
I think there's huge opportunities to create speed of visibility to status within the organization, and status against how did we execute versus the plan. Did we execute as expected, or did we miss? If we missed, why? And the speed to understand that why and to problem solve or countermeasure to then get it back on track. I also think it gives you lessons that focus on finding data, administering spreadsheets or paper documents that you can't even get the data, to now where leaders up and down the organization have complete visibility to the execution performance within the business, which is really key. Because otherwise, we can waste a lot of time trying to find the right spreadsheets, go have the right meeting to help understand, all right, what's going on. When we put the structure in place and then you leverage the iObeya platform and the tremendous capabilities of how you cascade and roll up numbers and how you create visibility, how you can create escalation routines to raise the flag and get help, just closes those gaps, right, of speed and information knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things there. I mean, I think ensuring the why isn't being left behind in the rush to digitize. I mean, digital solutions should not replace or negate the underlying rituals, methods, and practices that are like the foundation of operational excellence and continuous improvement. And I think that one of the other key things you touched on there, Bill, is that by putting this system in place, the goal is to give the right people the right information at the right time to make faster, better decisions. And that has been proven out time and time again with customer reports, case studies, that this is what happens when we get these systems in place. Unfortunately, when people think of digitization, they sometimes turn directly to IT. And yes, IT is an amazingly important partner in the journey, but sometimes digitization can happen in a vacuum or a silo without consideration of how that digitization supports the CI and operational excellence initiatives, as opposed to driving them. And again, that comes back to this partnership of having the kind of check and balance on the CI and OPEX expertise side with the technology side.
We'll touch on a little bit of, just the role of consulting in this transformation. Some of what we do, when I think more broadly of why do you use consultants in the first place, right? So we either bring capability and perspective that the organization might not have, or we bring capacity, right? So we supplement the business's capacity to get things done so they can get them done faster. But we also bring that perspective because we see so many different organizations and ways to think about it, that we're bringing that perspective to the clients that they may not have or be able to get easily, right? But it also is helping them stay focused on what Paul talked about, the why. What are we solving for? What are we trying to create? What do we want it to look like in the end? Because of our expertise focused directly in manufacturing and supply chain, we're closer to that than sometimes the internal IT organizations are. And we can also go sometimes, as an outsider, you're allowed to ask some of the harder questions of, well, why do you do that? And can we think about it differently, that perhaps you can't ask if you're on the inside sometimes.
Well, it's funny because that also, I've had this experience a lot, is having somebody be able to say, because the customer will say, well, can we do this with the software? And you have to have somebody be able to say, well, you could, but this is why you don't want to do that, because it's basically falling back on old habits, and you're not driving towards the future state that you want.
Yeah, no, I mean, having the expertise, that deep experience along with the digital management system, it truly is a force multiplier.
That wraps up part 1 of the 80's called And They Want Their Management System Back. Tune in to part 2, where Will, Paul, and Bill dive deeper into how merging a battle-tested management system with digital visual management unlocks a real edge in today's high-speed manufacturing world. Don't miss it.